Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Go to keithreza.com for stand-up dates and all that jazz. We got a great episode for you today. She's the writer and the producer of this new show from Tyler Perry called She the People, and it's coming out mid-May. It should be out by the time this is released. And it's called She the People. Naya Palmer is going to be here via Zoom. So it's going to be fun. We're going to learn what the show's about and all that jazz. For those of you who know me, I think Tyler Perry is one of the coolest people because he's really keeping Hollywood alive in Atlanta, and he kind of lives by his own rules. So I kind of like him by that. So, guys, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, and enjoy this episode of Raise the Riffs with Naya Palmer. Coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Razor Riffs with your host, Keith Reza.
Naya.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. Can you see me?
Yeah, can you see me?
Oh, now I can. Excellent.
Yay!
The difficulties of Zoom.
I know.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know you're pretty busy with this new show, She the People. Which,
yeah, but I made time for you.
Yeah, I know. I think it's because it's the blue screen glasses I have.
That's exactly why. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah. That's like the secret.
You got it.
When I pitch guests, I say I have really cool blue screen glasses.
And that's why I'm here today.
All right, it works.
Yes.
So 1 from 1. So I wanted to ask you about She the People because this is a new show that you created and co-wrote and produced. So I want to know, like, is this your first show that because I know you've written, but is this your first show that you've created?
Yes, it is my first show. Yes. I've written a number of original material, but this is my first piece that is being produced. Yes, it's my first creator credit. So very excited.
So like how cool is that?
It's cool. It's cool. I mean, I think some writers want to just be staffed because it's a big deal creating something and it's a lot of work, but a lot of writers really want to create their own show, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to do so. I'm over the moon.
Yeah. I was on a staff show as a writer once, and I hated
Oh, really?
it. Yeah. I didn't like it because everyone was fighting for like the jokes and stuff.
Oh yeah, it was comedy, right? It was
comedy. And they're like, I thought we were supposed to make people laugh.
Right? I know, isn't it? Yeah, it's a wild ride being in a room full of other funny people. It's a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. and obviously I was the least funny one because I had the blue screen glasses.
I don't believe that. I don't believe.
But I wanted to ask you, how explain producing too, because you're also a producer on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people don't really know what producer means. Like, I always thought it was the guy who worked at Ralph's throwing the produce. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that. I think it's just, there's writing and then just making sure that what we wrote making sure what we wrote and put on the page is executed properly.
Yeah.
So you're actually leaving the room where you type and going to oversee that world that you created.
Oh, that's nice.
So
it's just a fancy title for writer.
Right. Pretty much. Right. But not all writers are producers, right?
Yeah. They're usually like the money bags, right? They like, here's a whole bunch of money and make me more money.
Right. Some producers do come with money. Some come with relationships. Some come with scripts. So, there are a lot of different types of producers and executive producers. So I'm the kind that didn't come with money.
Oh, okay. I think that's good to know. Because then it's like just your talent got you the producer, and you're like,
right.
But yes, I wanted to ask you about She the People because I don't know much about this show, and because it's kind of under hidden wraps, but I know it's a little political, and then that's all the ladies and stuff. So what gave you that? Like, does it go on one side of the politics or is it neutral?
I think it's neutral. I think we're just making fun of politics at large because there's really a lot to laugh at.
Yeah.
And we could cry really, but we choose to laugh, and there's a lot to laugh at, and that's what I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on, you know, the bad stuff and the divisiveness. I want to have a good time, and I want other people to have a good time too.
Is it hard for you to write that type of humor though? Because, you know, like you said, politics it's also kind of scary and stuff, but like, you know,
Isn't it?
yeah.
No, you know, no, because sometimes I feel like it writes itself, right? Like
Right.
within the political climate, I feel like let's just pull what we saw in the newspaper and, you know, and do that. So I think the times right now are so wild that it actually provides a lot of material. That's how I choose to look at it. Like there's
Yeah.
material everywhere.
Oh,
So
oh, definitely. I have this strange theory about like politics and like the newspaper writers and stuff. You
mm-hmm.
want to hear this theory?
Yeah, shoot.
Okay. I have a theory that they don't know that they're comedians.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, because
you
when
might
they
be
write
right.
something, they're like, the world's gonna end, and then they send it, and then they like miswrite, and then like people like transform, and they're like, wait a second, I didn't write that. Well, maybe I did. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Maybe I did. Absolutely.
so if we're talking about jokes, how long actually is an episode? Is it 30 minutes or is it 45 minutes?
30 minutes.
30 minutes. So each
20,
episode's
32 minutes.
32 minutes. So
Mm-hmm.
each episode's about 32 minutes. So how
Yeah.
many jokes did you cram in, and was it hard for you and the writers to cram into the
No, you know, when I was coming up, as a writer, I was taught that you need 3 jokes per page. I don't know if you heard that. And that was back then when everybody was writing multicams, but I have since tried to have at least 3 jokes per page. On anything I write. So I try to put as many jokes in as possible. So that's how I do it.
3 jokes per page. That's not interesting.
Yeah, that's what they used to say. 3 jokes per page. You needed to have 3 jokes per page to keep people engaged and turning your pages and invested.
Now,
so that's what I try to do.
Did you go to script writing school? Like, is that where they taught you? Or
no, I went to the public library. I went there and I got some books and this was like in the maybe 2000, 2001. And that's where I learned. I wrote I think my first script I ever wrote, my spec was a Will and Grace. It was really fun. Nobody ever really saw it. So,
yeah. Explain to the folks what a spec is, because I know what that is.
But... Yeah, a spec is it's a take on an existing show that you write, so that you can have something to show the gatekeepers that you can imitate the voice of a show. Because as talented as you may be, or whatever your take is, it doesn't really matter as much as can you imitate the voice of this particular show. So that's what writers have to prove when they're up for jobs initially. Before anybody cares about your original material, can you imitate what we have? So that's what the spec does.
Now, when you wrote the spec for Will and Grace, did you ever watch episodes of Will and Grace?
Absolutely. I loved that show. I always thought it should be called Karen and Jack.
Right.
Because I thought those were my people. I thought they were absolutely hilarious. But I watched, of course, I watched tons of episodes. I loved that show.
So I wish they would have told me when I wrote a spec to like watch the show you're writing on. Because my best friend was Norm Macdonald, and he was one of the rewriters for the Roseanne show when it came out. And I toured with him, and he's like, "Hey Keith, let's get you a job writing on this." I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Write a spec." I never saw the original Roseanne's, right? So I didn't know what the show was about.
Right.
So I wrote a spec on Roseanne of like her being in outer space or whatever, and they're like, "This is the shittiest script I've ever seen. It has nothing to do with the show." I was like, "Oh, what's the show?"
You're like, nobody told me. I had to watch the episodes. Get it together, people.
But I would say, like, if you write a spec, you should probably watch a couple episodes of the show you're writing a spec on.
I would say that as well.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
The things you learn in this Hollywood business. Right?
I know. It's a tough business.
And then Tyler Perry has his name on this bad boy, too. So
yes, he does.
Yeah. So how cool is that?
That's really cool. We went to him. A number of people expressed interest. And after we filmed the pilot presentation, but Tyler was the person who was ready to go, ready to shoot, ready to like make it happen. So we went with Tyler.
Yeah. How cool is it? Like, or because Tyler's also a writer, but he's
Yes.
directing a couple of these episodes. And I wanted to
Yes.
ask you,
Yes.
like, does he give you the complete creativity as a writer because he's been in that position, or does he change it because he's directing?
No, I think because he's such a prolific writer, I think that he respects the creative process.
Yeah.
And so he gives us a lot of latitude to do our own thing, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
So he's been great, very
That's
generous.
all.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Because like I'd always be intimidated by like the guy who's paying the bills and stuff.
I am. What makes you think I'm not? I am intimidated.
uh, like David Letterman was my boss for the show that I wrote on, but I never,
Really?
yeah, but I never met him or anything. Like I just got the checks,
He never popped in the room?
No, no. But
Really?
yeah.
Huh.
And but like I was always intimidated, like, oh my God, what if he hates me? You know what I mean? But
Right, right. I get
never
it. Writers
never
think
saw him once.
right. He wasn't even thinking about you. You weren't on his radar.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's a writer thought. They hate me. They probably hate me.
It's actually kind of good that I did never meet him, because if I did, I'd be like, hey, you want to do my podcast? I don't know, something stupid.
And he may say yes. So
I don't know. Would you say that with the development of AI, would you say
mhm.
that that makes your job as a writer a lot harder, or do you think that it makes it a little easier?
It makes it easier. I use it as a tool. And I listen, I think that when calculators came out, people were probably like, oh no, calculators,
Yeah.
we're going to be obsolete. But I think it's the same thing. I think it's just a tool to make your writing a little bit easier. And I'll give you an example. I know nothing about basketball. All right.
I know everything about
You know
basketball.
everything about basketball? That's
Yeah.
good. I should have had you. I should have been able to. I should have had you helping when I wrote this particular script. But I knew nothing about basketball, and it was an episode that involved some like basketball playing and teams. And I was like, oh my god! And I went to AI, and they helped me work it out. And what's that guy? And what's a point guard? And like just the specifics, the mechanics. It was really helpful.
Yeah.
So
The
yeah.
point guard is the guy who dribbles the ball down and he runs the offense.
Well, now I know that. Where were you before?
I don't know. Like, for example, this
Well, thank you.
podcast,
Oh, a
I'm the
day
point
late,
guard.
$1 short.
I know. Hey, maybe I should have like hit you up a couple months ago. Be like, hey,
Right,
I know basketball.
right. I would have had you write that particular scene. So yeah, AI came in handy.
I think like when I write, I think like I've never used AI, but maybe because I'm scared. But I think like the human emotion, because I write tell it like scripts for film and stuff. So I
Yes.
think like the human emotion, that would be kind of hard to.
I don't think it can do that. I
Yeah.
think, and that's where we come in.
Yeah.
We're the ones who are, responsible for the human emotion. But I think it's good for like mechanics and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to ask you, so you said you got your start at a library reading books and stuff. So like
Yes.
when you were growing up in this business, like did you
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I want to be a writer," or like
Yeah.
what turned you on being a writer?
Well, I took an improv class years ago, and I still lived in DC, and I worked a corporate job, and so which was like not fun. So in the evenings, I would take a improv class just to have a little bit of fun. And I thought I was funny, and I still think I'm funny. It's just that improv it's just too quick for me. So,
Right.
and I realized, oh, I can be funny if I have the time.
Yeah.
And that's when I went to the library, and I was like, I can do this, but I just need to write scripts because improvisation, that's not my thing. But much respect to people who can do it. So that's kind of what lit the fire in me.
Yeah. And when you write, do you like what program do you use? Do you use Final Draft or?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Final Draft's the best.
Yeah, you use that too, right?
I do, but like, because I also teach screenwriting, and like
Ah,
Final Draft is very expensive for some folks.
yeah.
So then I gave him this worse idea, which I kind of regret. I was like, you
What?
should use Celtics.
What is that?
It's so terrible. Like,
Oh,
so
why did you do that?
because I
Had
thought
you even used it?
no, I use Final
Such a
Draft.
writer.
I don't mean to brag, but I'm kind
You were
of
trying to help, though.
yeah, I was trying to
Yeah.
help. Like
Yeah.
I could afford Final Draft because like not to brag, but I'm a D-list celebrity. So like
I get it.
you know,
Everybody doesn't have that type of clout to make it happen. So
yeah. So then when they submit their scripts where we do feedback, it's in Celtics, and then when you print it, it all prints in a Word document, and it's all like So you think, oh, these people don't have any idea on screenwriting format,
Right.
or because I told them to use Celtics.
Oh, you can amend that. Amend that.
Yeah.
Let them know you made a mistake. You're only human.
Yeah. I
And
don't
they
know.
have, in order to be in the class, they have to invest in Final Draft. I think that's fair.
Yeah, maybe. I
I
don't
think
know. It is kind of expensive though. Maybe I should just
I
buy
know.
everyone Final Draft.
No, if you want to write, you have to invest in the tools that you'll need. So that
Oh yeah,
is a
that's
gauge
true.
for how serious they are.
Yeah,
I imagine.
that's true, yeah.
Right.
One of the things that I always tell, like I say, hey, if you're offended by anything whatsoever, and I use like some pretty harsh words,
Yeah,
you know, and I say you need to get out of this class and not take it because
I
there's,
like you.
you know what I
Right. We
mean?
don't have time for that
Yeah.
sensitive bullshit. Right.
So it's like, that's the part of the writing, and it's not like what I agree with or what I don't agree with.
Right.
The fact is writing is a form of free speech. You know what
It
I mean?
is. Absolutely.
So that's
We
what
can
I say.
respect each other while doing our thing, while being
Yeah,
creative. Right.
definitely. Now I wanted to ask you because this is also one of the few things that I actually don't really know, but what is
Okay.
the difference between story by, which I know what that is, but what is
Okay.
story editor?
Oh, story by, that's just a credit
Yeah.
and credit for concept. Story editor is a level of a writer on the staff. So, staff writer, which is probably what you were on Norm's show,
Yeah.
staff writer, then story editor. So it's the second in the level of, the hierarchy in the writer's room.
So does every show have a different form of that? Because like when I was in it, it was staff, and then it was head writer, and that was or it was staff, head
I
writer.
think late night, were you on Norm's show or David Letterman's show?
No, I was on Norm's show. It was
And
a
was that a scripted show?
Yeah, it was a podcast, and then I went to a Netflix show, and that's
Huh.
where Letterman was my boss.
Okay. So at what point did you have the head writer on Letterman?
I wasn't the head writer. I was just on
But
staff. Oh
right,
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So I wasn't on Letterman. Letterman just produced Norm's show on Netflix,
right.
so he was the boss.
Okay.
So the head writer was on both of them, was on the podcast and the
Hmm.
Netflix.
Okay. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar, but I do know people are doing different things.
Yeah.
So we've always called the head writer the showrunner.
Oh, yeah.
So
I always thought
Victor,
the showrunner was the guy who hires the writers and says, "Hey, do my job."
well, they do. They do.
Yeah.
They hire the writers. Sometimes showrunners don't hire any writers, and they
Oh,
do all of
wow.
it, which is interesting, right? So that's what we did. Mr. Perry wrote the first 8, and then me and another producer named Tina Gordon, who's amazing, we wrote the back 8. It was just us two.
Yeah.
So a writing room of 2.
Now, how many episodes on this first season did you guys nail in the can?
16 episodes.
Whoa, 16.
I know, right?
So like how long would you say that to write and to film each episode probably took? An episode a week, or like did you
No,
film it all together?
this is the crazy part.
Ah,
Um, so Tyler Perry works very quickly. I think that's how he's risen to be what he's become. So we filmed 8 episodes in like 2 weeks.
oh my God.
I know. And we wrote 8 episodes. Tina Gordon and I wrote 8 episodes over the course of 2 months.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
very cool. That's
Isn't
intense.
it cool?
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself. I didn't know if I could do it. I was very nervous, but I did it. So
Now was this like was this recorded in front of like a live audience, or was it just like the cameras and stuff?
yeah, it was a single cam. There was no live audience. There was nobody to clap, and
Yeah.
so it was single cam, very fast paced, and yeah, like 14 days for 8 episodes.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of my first jobs is like in this business. I was a comedy buffer for this CBS show,
Okay.
and like you'd have to like keep it really G, because there's
Yeah.
kids there,
Yeah.
and then they'd like do a bell like right in the middle of your joke, and you're like, fuck, I can't tell
Right.
you, you know what I mean? So, and you have to do it like over and over again, and then.
Mm-hmm.
I would say because I do stand-up comedy, I would say
Yeah.
that really ruined my comedy because I was like,
Yeah.
the
You have a rhythm,
bells.
and that's kind of throwing you off.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to ask you a couple other writing questions
Sure.
that don't really have to do with She the People, but when you first started, You wrote for Samantha Who.
I did.
And I wanted to ask you that because Samantha Who has one of, in my opinion, one of the best character actors ever, Kevin Dunn.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, like, what was it like writing for him, or did you just write the stories and stuff?
I didn't write. There were so many people on that staff. I never got an episode to write for. Yeah. That was my first show ever. And I imagine, and what they do is, they assign scripts to different writers. So I don't think that writing for Kevin Dunn is any different than writing for Christina Applegate or anybody else that was on the show. Yeah. And I think that, as you know, they turn over the scripts to individual writers as an assignment, and it's their decision what kind of jokes they want. But we can pitch the room. All the writers in the room can pitch anything they want, but whoever's writing that, it's, do they want to put it in? Maybe, maybe not, but it's up to the writer who's been assigned the script.
Now, did you ever get like your feelings hurt if like you wrote something so great?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be
all the time.
And then they just say,
and they say, cut all the time, all the time. But I think it's part and parcel of, of this process, right? So I try not to get too upset, because it's always good stuff that makes it in. But you just can't cram all of your favorite. Everything you love can't make it in there. Yeah. So I'm learning to accept that.
Now I wanted to ask you, like, as a writer, because let's be honest, everyone in this Hollywood game has some type of ego where like that's not necessarily a bad thing. But what I'm saying is, like, for example, me, whenever stuff I do doesn't get picked and someone who, like, I'm like, that guy sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Do you ever
writers
have that?
Be haters, right?
Yeah. Like,
writers can be such haters.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Why did that jackass get a show and I didn't?
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's a real thing.
In a polite way.
We're all like that. I mean, let's not lie. We're all like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's human nature.
Yeah. So, like, how do you deal with that? You know what I mean? Like, do you like keep your mouth shut and just complain to your close friends and family?
I think you just hustle. I think you use it as a spark or inspiration to do what you need to do. And you just keep writing. But I've been in rooms where, there's trades, daily trades on the table, and people read through the trades and it ruins their day. Like, there's like 15 people in the room and somebody's reading out loud the trades of who sold something and who's got their pilot picked up. And it's like the energy in the room it's very interesting.
It's crazy.
So I think it's human nature, though. Sour grapes, right?
Yeah, sour grapes. I like that. Sour grapes. But yeah, whenever that happens to me, I just think, but that guy wrote on Celtics.
I know, right? But then he got his final draft and got it together. And whose fault is he wrote on Celtics? It's your fault.
Oh, that's true.
You're the one who told him to buy it.
That's
you don't
true.
have to tell anybody, though.
But what was I had a great question to follow up on that, but it'll come to me on this next question.
Okay.
What is your favorite game show that you think you could go on and compete and win?
Okay. I think I could do Jeopardy.
Okay.
Right? I love Jeopardy, but I really don't watch it that much because I get really worked up.
Right.
Like, it's Ferris wheel. Just start screaming. How do you not know it's Ferris wheel?
Right.
So I get a little too animated. So even though I really like it, I don't watch it as much anymore because the contestants don't do the right thing.
That's true.
And, and I get really invested and worked up. So
do you think Jeopardy, because like with what they teach us in school, like I think Jeopardy could probably be like 8 o'clock you have Jeopardy class. You know what I mean? Because like, I think you learn so much more from Jeopardy than you do sometimes in regular school.
I agree. And Family Feud too. That's another one. So maybe we just need to take books out of schools and put these games in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And see what happens to America's youth.
That's what I'm saying. I bet you it's going to turn around because, people like games and they pay attention to games,
Especially kids.
Yeah, especially kids.
Yeah, I think just put all of the education in a video game and let's see how they fare.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
They don't even have to go to school. Just
no. We want them to go to school.
We want them in school. Okay, right.
Yeah, because I don't want to see my child until 2 o'clock.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. How old's your child?
Oh, I'm just making a joke.
Okay,
but if
good.
I had a child, I wouldn't want to see him till
wanna...
2:00.
I agree. I get it.
Like,
but yeah.
And then I was gonna make another joke, but it might come off insensitive. So, but
I love those jokes. Those are
okay.
my favorite types.
Okay, so let's rewind.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want to see my child till like 2:00, and if I'm lucky, that child will get kidnapped, so I won't see him for a couple days.
I'm not gonna laugh, even though I think it's funny. No, it's funny.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, here's what I was going to ask you. So, like, when you're writing and you're writing a treatment, like, because there's so many different forms of treatments.
Yeah.
So, like, what is your best advice on a treatment? Because I always say like 1 or 2 pages tops, but now there's this style where people are like writing scene by scene by scene in a treatment.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you think that that's
probably
the way to go?
I've done it all. I've done it all. You can do whatever you want. And that's what always surprises me. Like, nobody really cares how many pages our treatments are. You know what I mean? Right. As long as we can effectively communicate our idea and make them laugh and entertain them along the way, so whether it's 2 or 7, like whatever you need to get the story out.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my thing.
I usually write the scripts, then I write the treatment, but on this round, I wrote a treatment first just to pitch it.
Yeah.
And someone was interested. I was like, oh, fuck, now I have to write a script.
Oh, you've done it now.
So, like, now I'm thinking maybe the treatment was good, but now I have a fear that the script's going to be terrible.
Just do it. Don't worry about it. Maybe, and even if it is terrible, they probably won't even be able to tell.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true.
So just give them whatever.
Well, this is what I tell everyone is like, usually on most writers, until you're like established on a name, what they'll do is they'll buy whatever you do, right? And then they'll fire you instantly. You know what I mean? And then they'll have a new writer rewrite it stuff. And I think Pete, that's my dog barking. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But
I know my husband took my dogs for a walk, so my dogs aren't going to be bad like yours.
Well, I was going to do that, but I don't have a husband.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not too late. You can get one.
Oh, yeah. I like the ladies, but
you like the ladies. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But like
I don't hear them.
Oh, okay. You don't hear them. Great.
No.
No. I'll continue then. Okay. But that's what I'll say is because like they'll fire you instantly and then they'll have someone rewrite it. And like if you don't keep like 10% of what you wrote in it, they won't even give you a credit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
but
I didn't even get paid. Is that features? That's the feature game?
That's features, yeah.
I haven't written a feature.
Oh my God, yeah. We should write a feature. We should get
Yes, I want to. I want to write a feature.
Let's do this. I got a great idea.
You do?
Yeah, because I just did a treatment. Someone liked it, and I don't want to write the script. So why don't you? So why don't we go in together, right? Okay. We can do this.
Okay. Send me your treatment. I'll look it over.
That'd be great. All right. So I have 2 more questions for you. Hey. So I wanted to ask you: is this show She the People? Does it have, like, without giving spoilers, but is there a chance that it's going to continue going on and on? Like, is it that type of show?
I think so.
Oh.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
So if you guys like it, it's certainly not going to go on and on if you guys don't love it.
Right.
But if you like it, it does have the potential to go on and on and on and on.
What I really like about the premise that you shared is that it's all ladies. Like, you might have some fellas directing, but writing and,
yeah. Writing, executive producing, directing. Yeah. Ladies are doing it for themselves. So yes, it's very exciting and empowering.
And then my last question for you is, if you could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself, knowing everything you know now, what would you tell yourself?
I don't know. It's going to be all right, girl. Don't worry. Don't stress. Get on Prozac early. Ecstasy stills your serotonin. I just can't think of one thing to tell my younger self, but I have lots to say to my younger self, but ultimately it's going to be okay.
I would tell my younger self, don't do crack.
because you had a
No,
time.
I've never done crack, but I think that's just good advice.
Right? It is good advice, right? It is. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm
See
gonna
that?
start telling people not to do that as well.
Yeah, like whenever I sign autographs, I say don't do crack.
Oh, I love that.
And
It's so twisted.
Yeah, and it confuses people because people actually do think I used to have a huge crack problem. And I'm like, no, it's just good advice.
It is good advice. I think you should keep signing that.
Yeah. Well, where can the folks at home follow and support you, or do you not want to be followed and supported? Some people are very private.
I love it. I am on Instagram, Nia Palmer Trusty, and I'm on Threads under the same name.
What's Threads?
Threads is like the new, everybody left Twitter and they went to Threads.
Right.
You haven't heard of Threads?
No, I have a thread, but explain to the folks at home that don't know what Threads
It's kind of like Twitter, but it's not.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have any other, I'm not in the tech space, guys. Sorry. I don't know the word for what it is, but it's just another social media page that people migrated to after Twitter had some issues. So Threads.
Do you think that there's too much social media right now? Like there's Facebook, Threads, Twitter, there's Blue Sky now.
I do think there's too much.
Yeah.
I try to take breaks from social media and walk my dog and do actual real things. And I also set a timer sometimes when I'm on there, so I'm not on there too long. Yeah. But yes, I do think we're overly consumed with social and the TikTok of it all. And it's fun though.
It's fun, but it's crazy. And I feel like if you look at your phone to see how much time you spend on social media, it'll kind of shock you because you'll think
that's why you shouldn't do that. That's why you should never look at. I took that off. There was something measuring how many hours a day. I took that off. So, but yes, you're right.
Yeah, but this is where it's crazy. Because you didn't hear it, but I have a dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my sisters made him an Instagram, right?
Yes.
So my dog has 24K followers, and I don't.
Really?
And it's my dog doesn't post or anything. He can't.
What's your dog's IG page?
It's like Boomer. I don't know, Boomer.
You don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
He's got 24,000 followers.
But it's just so weird because he's a dog. He's not.
It is weird. But you know what? I think people are calmed by images of dogs, right? Yeah. Just to get away from the upheaval of everyday life. I think it's soothing to them. So they may not know why they do it, but that's what I think it is.
Yeah. So I like to end every podcast on a little fact that I like to tell my guests. So I know everything about owls. If I wasn't a comedian, I'd be an owlologist,
Okay.
And did you know owls eat cats?
No.
Yeah.
I do know they also eat little baby puppies too.
Yeah, but mostly
anything small.
Mostly they eat cats though, and I know this because in my neighborhood we're missing a whole bunch of cats because I have a pet owl. Okay. But do you know how they eat cats?
No.
I'll tell you later.
Oh. All right, great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time to talk with me. Yeah, and good luck with the show. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
It's going to be on Netflix in May. So
everyone has Netflix.
Everybody's got it. So there's no excuse not to watch it. So
exactly.
Watch it.
Just wait until the next streaming service, and then you're going to have issues. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I do believe you.
All right, Nia. Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week on Reza Riffs.